This is a video review of the Canon 5D Mark I digital SLR camera. It's not a new camera, it was launched in 2005, so it's been around for quite a few years, but it was Canon's first full frame camera in a standard sized body. Previously the other full frames were like the Canon 1DS, which had an extra space at the bottom for the battery, so it was a lot bigger. So this was the first sort of like standard size SLR camera with a full frame sensor. And here's the 5D Mark I up close. I've attached a Canon 17-40 f4L lens to the camera. It's a very good lens for landscape photography. So if you're into landscape photography, you can definitely be worth considering getting this lens. I've done a video review of that lens on my YouTube channel, so you can have a look at that if you're interested. In terms of the various buttons and functions on the 5D, you've got your shutter release button at the front, slider wheel for changing things like shutter speed, your aperture settings, that sort of thing. You've got your standard buttons on the front for changing white balance, your ISO level, spot metering. On the side, this is where your memory card goes. The 5D Mark I takes compact flash. More modern cameras generally tend to take SD cards, but this one's one of the older cameras, so compact flash it is. The rear of the camera, you've got a pretty decent size LCD screen with your buttons down the left-hand side, which basically you use to look through your pictures to change your various menu settings. On-off button at the back here. You've got the old version of the Canon navigation wheel at the back, and I personally think this navigation wheel is a lot better than the modern one on the newer cameras. The newer one I think is maybe slightly smaller, and it's got this little cursor thing as well which you use to navigate around, and it's just a bit, I think it's a bit cluttered. I prefer the use of how this one works personally. Joystick here for navigating around your pictures. A couple more buttons here on the side to change your focusing points, and also you can use it to zoom in and out of your pictures. The 5D Mark I has got 9 focusing points, which is, it's a pretty standard amount. Nothing compared to, say, 1DS, which has got I think it's got something like 48 focusing points, which is absolutely huge. The Canon 7D has got 19 focusing points. So yeah, 5D Mark I, 9 isn't a decent amount. The Canon 5D Mark I has got a 12.8 megapixel sensor inside it. So in terms of printing out photos at 12 megapixels, you're probably looking at a size of somewhere in between A3 and A2. It's not going to be the best picture quality in the world if you compare it to, say, a film camera, but it's going to be pretty decent and something you can probably hang on your wall. The weight of the 5D, ignoring the lens, is 895 grams. So, it's heavier than, say, some of the cheaper consumer level cameras, but that's mostly because the actual body of the camera is made out of metal, so it's a metal body construction. It's a tougher camera, it can take more knocks essentially. There are 7 different modes listed on the exposure wheel at the top here. So the 5D Mark I is classed as a professional level camera, where I guess you're expected to create your own custom settings for particular different types of setups. Therefore, you don't get sports mode, portrait mode or landscape mode settings like you do on some of the more budget ranges of the Canon EOS lineup. What you do get is automatic mode, point and shoot basically. Program mode. In program mode you can have a bit more control over your pictures and you can change things like your ISO level. Incidentally, the ISO level on the 5D Mark I ranges from 50 up to 3200. You've got shutter speed priority, so you can change the shutter speed of your shot using the slider wheel. Aperture priority, the same thing again, but you're changing the aperture. Manual mode, where you control both the shutter speed and the aperture level. Bulb mode. Now this is if you want to take a long exposure shot. You either keep your finger pressed on the shutter release button, or you attach a remote and do the same thing with the remote, and the picture will be recording data. The camera will be recording data for as long as you've got the shutter button pressed. The second you take your finger off the shutter button, the shutter release button, then the picture will effectively come to an end. The C mode, that's a custom mode, and that basically allows you to set up a custom settings on your camera and then bind it to the C mode. So if you want to take a particular type of shot, bind that to the C mode, switch there, and then you'll automatically be using the settings you've predetermined for that particular type of shot. In continuous shooting mode, the 5D Mark I can shoot at up to 3 frames a second. This is pretty slow compared to more modern cameras. The 7D, for example, can shoot at up to 8 frames, so that's something to be aware of. And also the 5D, as it's a full frame SLR camera, it only takes the Canon EF lenses. It won't take the EFS lenses such as the Canon 10 to 22mm, so it's also worth being aware of that. Now, to show you some example photos taken with the 5D Mark I, I've got a few here. Firstly, this shot is taken at ISO 100, and you can compare that against the same scene shot at ISO 3200. Pretty easy to see that, you know, ISO 100 you've got a lot better definition, a lot less grain. Although at 3200 it's not terrible. This is zoomed in at 100%, so you know pictures would still be usable at that ISO level, but obviously the lower the ISO the better. This shot here was not taken with the 5D, it's actually taken with a crop sensor camera, a Nikon D80 in fact, and I'm putting it in here so you can compare that to the same shot at the same focal length but taken with the 5D. And as it's a full frame camera, you're going to get a lot more of the scene in with your shots. The rest of the pictures here were taken with the 17 to 40mm lens or the Canon 15mm fisheye. As you can see on this shot here, with a fisheye lens on a full frame camera, you're going to get a much bigger effect, much more of a curvature effect in your shots. I'm pretty happy with the quality of the pictures coming out of the 5D, yeah, they're generally pretty sharp and crisp and good colours. The pictures which you're seeing here are unedited, they're basically just taken straight out of the camera. You can see full-size versions of these pictures if you go to my website. So in terms of price, the Canon 5D Mark I is probably one of the cheapest ways you can get a full-frame digital SLR camera at the moment. You can pick one up used, second-hand, for probably about £400, between 400 and 500. If you wanted the newer model, the 5D Mark II, then you're probably looking at about £1,000. And then for the latest version, which is the 5D Mark III, it's probably about 2,000. So 400 quid for a Mark I is pretty good. Alternatives to that would be the Canon 1DS, so that's going to be a bigger camera but it's going to have more focus points, and the 1DS Mark I picked one up for about £600. You might be able to pick one up slightly cheaper than that now. The 1DS Mark II, that one's going to be probably about £800, and again the 1DS Mark III goes up even further still. So if you want to get a second-hand full frame, then probably the 5D is one of the cheapest options available at the moment. So my opinion of the Canon 5D, it is a very good camera. It's probably one of the cheapest full frame SLRs you can get these days. And with the right lenses, you're going to take some really good shots with it. I can compare this to the Canon 1DS now because I've tried both of them out. The Canon 5D is obviously a lot smaller, so it's a lot easier to carry around, which is great. It's a newer camera, so it's got better functions and features. The screen on the back is also a lot bigger, so you can actually review your pictures properly on this camera. The Canon 1DS is a bit of a waste of time. The screen's really small, and it takes a while for the pictures to actually download onto the card. So it's not really the best way to quickly review your pictures, but you can do it on this one. Saying that though, the 1DS wins on a few other areas. Firstly, even though it is a bigger camera, you've got easier access to the various functions. You can hold it in different ways and still get immediate access to the various slider wheels and stuff, so that's quite useful. And you've also got the 40 odd focusing points, which is brilliant. And the other one, I can't really qualify why it is, but I think I preferred the quality of the images I was getting out of the 1DS as opposed to the 5D. Both are really good cameras, and this one is probably more suitable if you're out and about and you just want to take your camera with you. but I think I preferred the image results on the 1DS. There we are. I hope you've enjoyed this video review. If you'd like to check out some more reviews, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is SLR Lens. Thanks.